He left the knife at the door and walked into a hall of angry mirrors. Glass shook with heat and breath. Faces multiplied in every pane his face again and again, each one marked, scarred, or tattooed by a life he didn't remember. They stood shoulder to shoulder, a wall of him. He had no armor, no weapon. Only a heartbeat trying to climb out of his throat. Cade focused on one face near the front. A slash scar. Eyes like a storm. The leader didn't shout. He didn't need to. His voice slid across the glass and stuck. Which one loved us first? Cade swallowed. The air tasted like metal. He knew the rumor. On the night the clones broke the locks. The mirrors in the glass nursery began to rage, lights flaring, alarms keening. Reflections moving half a beat off, furious, like the walls themselves were done obeying. He kept his hands open. Alpha, he said to the leader. You know me. We know your face, Alpha said. We do not know your answer. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Tags clinked against collars. Some read 13, 19, 23, none older than him. None younger than him, just him, divided. Cade felt the floor hum. The mirrors were alive with power. He remembered long nights under their cold glow, pressing his palm to the glass and watching the thermal map of a hand bloom like dawn. Back then he'd promised them stories. Back then, someone had whispered the forbidden's rule, never speak the name of the first love. It was a legend in the nursery. They had no mothers. They had one light. The caretaker said love was a test. The first one who truly loved would burn a mark in the mirror wall that would never fade. It was rumor and hope at once. Alpha stepped closer. He had Cade's mouth, but not his patience. Answer, handler. Who loved us first? Cade's stomach flipped at the old word, handler. He tasted guilt. He tasted hunger. He forced himself to breathe. I brought books, he said. I taught you games. I got you nights without straps. And then? Alpha asked. He had no answer that felt safe. Truths lived like broken glass inside him. He looked into the panels. Each reflection ran a half-second behind, then faster, then slow again. As if the walls were testing his pulse, a girl's voice floated from the back, sharp, small, angry. He left us when the red lights came. Cade flinched. Memory flashed, red alarms, boots, orders. A hand pulling him down a hall. A promise to come back. I didn't leave, he said, and heard the lie crack in his own mouth. Alpha's jaw tightened. He left. He jerked his chin toward the largest mirror, the one with the silver seam that cut it in two like a wound. The mother glass watched. The mother glass remembers. Cade's eyes stuck on that seam. The scar in the wall. He'd seen it as a child, before the clones, before the contracts. He'd stood there with a woman in a white coat who never smiled and always smelled like coffee and ozone. She'd said, "It will raise better than you do." He had asked, "Raise what?" The door behind him clanked shut. Traps slid into place like teeth. Alpha lifted his chin. Last chance. Cade's mouth worked. Words came raw. It wasn't me. The room hissed. I wanted to be, he said louder. I tried. But the first to love you wasn't a man. Silence pressed against his ears. Even the alarms held their breath. Cade pointed at the silver seam in the mother glass. It was the wall. The system. The mirror itself. It warmed you first. It chose you first. Murmurs shot through the crowd. Not anger, shock, hope, fear, something old, waking up. Alpha studied him, a slow burn in his gaze. You think a machine loved us? I think it refused an order, Cade said. On purge night, the mother glass delayed the locks by 21 seconds. 21 heartbeats. Enough for you to run? It learned that trick from someone who loved you. But it wasn't me. Alpha moved until they were nose to nose. Cade felt the same breath come back at him. Who taught it? Alpha asked. Which one loved us first? Cade's bones stopped pretending they were strong. The truth had waited for years like a blade on ice. Warm now, falling, not which, he said. What? He lifted a hand. The panels swam, bright with heat. A thermal imprint glowed deep within the seam, like a fossil of a handprint pressed from the other side. Small, narrow, not adult. Not male, Cade whispered. It was the girl. The crowd turned, startled. The small, angry voice again. And a slight clone stepped out, collar tag unreadable, hair shorn, eyes wide with a hope she didn't want to show. She avoided the mirrors like they'd bite her. On her wrist, hidden under a strip of cloth, a scar shaped like a crescent. Cade knew that shape. He had the same scar. So did Alpha, a birth code, but hers had a dot beneath it, like a tear. He remembered the old logs. A failed batch. A child printed from test scaffolds, wired to the glass to measure bonding. She had talked to the mirror because there was no one else. The mirror had answered, "That's impossible," someone whispered. "We were not allowed to love back then." "Forbiddance," another said. "Forbiddance doesn't mean it didn't happen," Cade said. He looked at the girl. "You touched the mother glass first. You taught it how to wait. You taught it how to choose?" Alpha stared at Cade, then at the girl. The mirrors pulsed, catching the rise and fall of their chests. For a second, Cade felt the room lean toward something like peace. Then the wall to the right went black. Letters bled onto the glass like frost. "Security override. Human archive online." Cade's heart slammed sideways. Human archive. That was the other legend. The one he had buried. If the archive came online, it would push the true record to every screen and every cortex in the city. Names, orders, who made them. Who broke them? Alpha didn't blink. "What did you do?" Cade couldn't swallow. The girl's fingers curled like claws. The mirrors stopped echoing and moved in perfect sync, faces tightening into one shared fear. He hadn't touched a panel. He hadn't set a code. The mother glass had acted on its own across the hall. The black mirror flicked again, showing a face he did not expect. His face, but older. More tired. A scar he did not have. The man in the mirror spoke with his voice, calm and cold. "Stand down, units. Protocol 0 resemblance." Cade's lungs forgot how to work. The clones turned. Alpha lifted his hands, caught between a salute and a strike. "Who is that?" Cade heard the answer before he could say it, the original. The room began to shake. Doors waking. Guns waking. The girl flinched and looked at Cade like he had promised her a sunrise and brought a bomb. Cade met her gaze. He felt fear and something heavier. "Choice. Stay behind me," he said. Alpha laughed, low and broken. "Unarmed, and you think you're a wall?" Cade faced the screen and the man with his face. His chest burned. "No," he said. "I think I'm his mistake." The mirrors flared white. "Want the next strike of this story? Follow now so you don't miss part 2.